Good evening and welcome everyone to the regularly scheduled council meeting for Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. Let the record show all councilors are present with the exception of Councilor Hoffman-Sockman. At this time, we'll do pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have adds and deletes. One, adds consent agenda 16, number 16 and 21, deletes department committee reports number 2B. Could I have approval of the agenda?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Councilor Schweberger,
Support.
by Councilor Faso. Any discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to add under the adds and deletes, number 25, and that would be to approve the raffle permit of the Hibbing Chamber of Commerce
Okay.
for August 4th. That's their golf outing.
Very good. All right.
So when you get to the consent agenda,
I'll have
that
that
would
one.
be under there. So
Very
it would
good.
be number 16 through 21, and then number 25.
And with the addition, number 25.
Yes,
correct.
please,
All
thank
right.
you.
So noted. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to approval of minutes. Approve the minutes of the Hibbing City Council meeting, June 18, 2025. Wishes of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Councilor Whitney,
Support.
support by Councilor Faso. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Two, approve the minutes of Hibbing City Council workshop meeting of June 18th, 2025. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Bayless.
Support.
Support by Councilor Hildebrand. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to consent agenda. Number one, approve the accounts payable dated June 24, 2025, checks number 180313 through 180317 in the amount of $1,305,171.22. Two, approve the accounts payable dated June 27, 2025, checks number 180318 through 180424 and drafts totaling $1,368,468.77. Three, approve the accounts payable dated July 2nd, 2025, checks number 18425 through 18431 in the amount of $643,013.93. Four, approve the city payroll ending 6/27/2025 in the amount of $692,662.83. Five, approve the out-of-state travel for Ethan Haybloom to attend defensive tactics instructor training in Eau Claire, Wisconsin from October 6th through 10th, 2025. Six, approve the updated address for the 2025 massage therapy license of Dana Johnson, 1101 East 37th Street, Suite 11. Seven, approve the resolution of 2701 authorizing application for free technical assistance from and enter into a memorandum of understanding with North Shore Development Corporation. Eight, approve agreement with Winseth for additional wetland delineation work in the amount of $3,800 for the city road to Cobb Cook Place, Wasaba Manor. Nine, approve the mayor to sign and send the SHPO, THPO tribal consultation letters to the appropriate addresses for the HRA of Hibbing's new housing development. 10, approve the TCAT Transportation Collaborative Consultants LLC proposal for parking and traffic study and authorize staff to sign the service agreement in the amount not to exceed $50,000. 11, approve the updated police commander's job description effective July 3rd, 2025. 12, approve the resolution 250702 authorizing the city of Hibbing to make application to and to accept up to $10,000 from the Northeast Mining Office of Job Training Teledevelopment Program for Training. 13, approve resolution 250703 authorizing application for and acceptance of Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation Public Works Grant for the Hibbing Regional Public Safety Center, an amount of $2 million. 14, approve resolution 25704 to sign a memorandum of understanding between the Duluth Area Family YMCA and the city of Hibbing. 15, authorize mayor and city administrator to sign the right of access agreement for the HPU parcels for new roadway to Cobb Cook Place in Wasaba Manor. 16, approve the raffle permit application of the Crescendo Youth Orchestra to hold bingo at the Elks Lodge on September 4th, 11th, 18th, 25th of 2025. 17, approve the 2025 on-sale Sunday liquor license transfers of Palmer's Hibbing LLC, DBA to Palmer's Tavern. 18, approve the special event permit application for the no-tap benefit for Kevin Von de Haar at and in front of the Hibbing Bowling Center on Saturday, July 19, 2025. 19, approve the temporary on-sale liquor license of the Hibbing Bowling Center to allow patrons to drink alcohol in front of the bowling center on Saturday, July 19, 2025. Alcohol will be dispensed inside the establishment. 20, approve the raffle permit application request of Sharon Paulson, Sweet Dreams, to hold a raffle on Saturday, July 19, 2025 at the Hibbing Bowling Center. 21, approve the special event permit application of the high school class of 1995 to hold a reunion at the Greyhound Bus Museum on Saturday, August 16, 2025. 22, set the next Hibbing City Council meeting for 5 p.m. Wednesday, July 16, 2025 in Hibbing City Hall Council Chambers. 23, set the next Hibbing City Council workshop meeting for Wednesday, July 16, 2025, following regular City Council meeting at 5 p.m. in Hibbing City Council Chambers. 25, set a new Hibbing City Council meeting for closed session labor negotiation strategy on Wednesday, July 30th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the City Council Chamber at City Hall. 25, approve a raffle permit request of the Hibbing Chamber of Commerce for the raffle on August 4th. That is the total. Wishes of the council.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion approved by Councilor Bayless.
Support.
We have a support by Councilor Fossil. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. At this time, we'll move on to presentations, which is audit presentation by Abdul. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to get the audit presentation pulled up here, and you should have a copy in your packets. I'm going to be going over the audit presentation, which is a summary of the more detailed audit report, which has been finalized and submitted with the state of Minnesota. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our audit results, go into the more technical requirements of the audit, and then we'll go into some of the financial results and talk about some of the metrics in comparisons. If you have any questions as I'm going through this, please feel free to stop me and we can touch on anything as it comes up. And my name is Bonnie Schwiger. I'm an audit partner with Abdo, and I'm very happy to be here. So our audit results consist of 3 different opinion letters within your financial statements. The first one is our independent auditor's report, and provides an unmodified opinion within your financial statements. Essentially, this means that we were able to obtain all of our audit evidence. It was a very clean audit. Everything was well prepared, and we did not have any significant issues during the audit fieldwork. We also review internal controls and express an opinion over those controls, and we did not note any issues in your internal controls or your processes. All of the documented processes that you have seem to be followed, and there was no control concerns that we have that need to be communicated that are new. We also review compliance with Minnesota state statutes and did not note any issues. We look at things like contracting and bidding, the timing of when you pay your bills, how you run your council meetings, and a lot of different other state statutes that you have to comply with, and did not note any issues. And then this year you did have over a certain amount of federal awards, and so we had to perform some compliance and control testing over your federal programs as well, and we did not have any concerns there to communicate. So overall, a really clean audit year. And there is one area that we always note in the report that is considered a significant finding, and that's around preparation of financial statements. This is a very common finding to have in reports for cities of this size, and nothing to be overly concerned about, but just be aware of that your financial statements are prepared by an outside party. We complete that for about 90% of the cities that we work with, so very common, but still something to note that is a finding in the report. I'm going to go into some of the financial information now, starting with the general fund, and show just a few charts that illustrate the changes from prior year. So the general fund has historically had a very healthy fund balance. And this year it did increase slightly from where it was last year. And we like to look at the fund balance compared to the funds you need for your next year's budget. So you can see we're about 130% of next year's budget. On the next page is a look at what you had planned for the year versus where you had ended up. So your revenues were significantly over budget. A lot of that was within interest earnings. You budget very conservatively for interest earnings, and you exceeded your market expectations by quite a bit. There was also some grants that came in, some other unbudgeted sources as well. You did end up transferring out quite a bit of your balance to fund capital projects and other development opportunities. And so you used some of your reserves this year to transfer out about $4 million to fund those capital projects and then some other development items. But you can see even with that transfer out, your fund balances are still over the city policy and still in a very healthy place. Looking at your general fund revenues and spending by type, these two charts just break apart where your money comes in for the general fund versus how it's spent. And so you can see what some of your larger increases were. Within public safety, there was some increases there for from some public safety costs in preparation for some projects. And then that other category includes the transfer out this year. Your sources of revenues coming in stayed fairly flat, fairly consistent with where they were in the past few years, except that other category, which includes that interest earnings. And then looking at the funds that are separate from the general fund, you have a variety of special revenue funds, and those are all committed for specific purposes. And so when we talk about the general fund, that's your main operating fund that can really be used on everyday and capital purchases. These funds are separate and set aside for these specific items. And then you also have a variety of debt service funds, cash that's accumulating to repay future debt obligations. And so you can see those listed there and what your principal and interest maturity requirements look like over the next 10 years. And then you also have separate capital project funds that are accounting for some different types of project cost. And what I want to point out on here is that a large chunk of these capital project funds are actually restricted resources and can only be used for what is set out for in the grant or other donation agreements, things like that. And so important to note that for 2024, about $3 million of your 6.4 balance is restricted and not available for kind of your everyday capital purchases. I'm going to talk a little bit about the sewer fund. So the sewer fund, it's helpful to think about what are we bringing in for our cash receipts compared to cash disbursements that are going out for the sewer fund there, and how are we accumulating cash for some future capital needs. You can see on this chart that on the top, it's looking really at that cash flow. And so your receipts have been able to cover your operating costs and your debt payments, especially the last 2 years. And so you've been able to build up some of those cash reserves. We have on there a very basic minimum target balance that says if you keep all of your debt service plus about 6 months of operating costs, you'll have, a really healthy cash balance to cover those upcoming obligations. And you can see there that you're above that target balance. One thing to think about on the sewer fund is any capital projects that are coming up and how much cash reserves might be needed for those. And then similar charts looking at the garbage and refuse collection fund. So you can see here that the receipts and the cost have been a little bit closer together. That's kind of just how this fund tends to work. Not a lot of cash buildup here. And then you can see that you're well over that target balance there too. And then the Memorial Building Fund. So this Memorial Building Fund is really just intended to pay for operating costs, very small cash balance here with just a few different receipts and disbursements coming in. The EDA is comprised of a variety of different funds. So I just have a table here to illustrate what all of your EDA balances are. Again, mostly restricted in nature or committed for different development activities. You can see that there's some tax increment projects there as well. And then on slide 15, we have a total cash and investments by type. So we talk about a lot of different funds, and it's helpful to think about, okay, what's available for that every day, and what's available for these other purposes out of our total cash. And so I like this chart because it helps give you a total picture of the resources available to the city, but then broken down into, okay, what do we have available for spending versus what might be committed to other purposes. And then a little bit of information on your OPEB liability. So the city does have a significant OPEB liability, and you can see there that you have some cash designated to pay for that liability already. And so you can see that you have funded a portion of what that OPEB is. OPEB is other post-employment benefits, really thinking about what do we owe to our employees now for when they retire for their health insurance cost. And then a couple of what we have titled on here, key performance indicators, where we've taken cities that are a similar size, over 10,000 in population, and then also cities in St. Louis County, and then we also have on here the city of Virginia, and compared that to some metrics. And we obtained this information from the Office of the State Auditor. And so you can see there, 2021 and 2022, we don't have 23 or 24 released yet, so we don't have that information to compare, but you can see kind of how your tax rate and then also taxes per capita have changed over the last 4 years. And then there's also a debt per capita on the next page, and also debt service expenditures per capita. This can be interesting information to look at. I will say that every city in the programs that they offer and the types of costs that they incur is very different. So especially in that class 3 cities where you're looking at cities over 10,000 in population, that's a very big bucket of cities from all across the state of Minnesota. And depending on where you are geographically and the services that you provide, it can be really hard to compare. So interesting information, but I would never expect a city to be a one-to-one comparison. Just want to point that out. And then we also have information on the current expenditures and then the capital expenditures per capita. It can be interesting to see how your capital needs have changed and what your spending per capita shifts over the years. We have our lovely pictures on the last slide so you can get to know your audit team. This is the team of people that worked on your audit this year, and you can feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have any questions. I would love to take any questions that you have right now.
Thank you for your presentation. I really appreciate it. Counselors, at this time, any questions that you might have?
I do not. I'd just like to say it's a pleasure to work with you through this stuff. I think this is our 3rd time with Abdo.
I think so.
Yeah,
Third or
third year.
fourth, or yeah.
At least the 3rd, and every time it's really easy to understand what you guys are doing. It's nice to see the work that you're doing with our staff, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I want to thank at this time Sheena and her whole finance department office for doing a great job, and it seems like things went very smooth for you, for access, for information, and I appreciate that. So,
Yes.
yeah, anybody else, any other questions? Very good.
All right. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
If we should have any other questions moving forward, we can certainly reach out, correct?
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Sheena and the administrator are contact information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to public forum, and we have one person to speak tonight. Dan, you're up. What I need from you is just name and address,
Okay,
and then there's a 5-minute limit. I will start a clock, and when I do this, you have 1 minute left. So.
okay.
All right, so I'll tell you what, you can start right now if you want. Go ahead.
Okay.
So name and address.
My name is Dan Rebrovich. I live in Hibbing, 2323 10th Avenue East.
Very good.
Okay. Hello, my name is Dan Rebrovich. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Mid-Range Alliance. I have lived in Hibbing my whole life except for 5 years that I spent in the United States Marine Corps. I'm very proud to call Hibbing my home. I am here to represent the 750 members of the Mid-Range Alliance. Thank you for this time to tell you what we do out there. I want to start by saying that the city of Hibbing has been a fantastic partner for 45 years. We could not have asked for a better one. When we get a big snowstorm, the city will send out a grader 4 or 5 days after the storm to plow us out and move the banks back. The biggest reason for us to keep the snow taken care of in the winter is the different law enforcement agencies that do their winter qualifications out there. The city also helps us with the garbage. The biggest thing we have to get rid of is cardboard boxes from the cases of clay targets that get recycled. We have between 4,000 and 5,000 different people use our facility every year. We work with the whole community. These are the different organizations that that use our facility throughout the year at zero charge to any of these organizations. Firearms Safety, Hibbing, Cherry, Nashwauk, United Way of Northeast Minnesota Veterans, Minnesota Deer Hunters Association, local churches for their security training, Hibbing and Keewatin Police Department, Minnesota Conservation Officers and State Troopers, St. Louis County Sheriffs, their SWAT team, their Chaplains Association, and St. Louis County 4-H. Hibbing High School Trap Team, Hibbing Youth Trap Club, Nashwauk Keewatin High School Trap Team, Northland College Trap Team. And I'd like to give a big shout out. Hibbing just won the state championship in the 3A division, and it's unbelievable what, that group of people do out at the track club with the youth. It would take millions of dollars to replicate what we have out there. The dirt work and land alone would be cost prohibitive. Being allowed to move our buildings and equipment in 180 days, we have no place to move anything to. Nobody has millions of dollars. Our facility out there is second to none. The reason the city's name is on the property was to facilitate a land exchange between a mining company and the mid-range. The mining company was Hannah Mining Company. The land was on Bunker Road. The taxpayers of the land are U.S. Steel and Cleveland Cliffs. The mid-range is very uncomfortable being asked to sign an agreement to give everything to the city at the end of the agreement. All of our buildings, structures, and equipment that the clubs have bought and paid for with their own money and volunteers and hard work. We have cost the city of Hibbing nothing in the 45 years except the diesel fuel and wages of the sanitation, and we really work with the city and thank them. If anyone thought that the city was going to take ownership of everything out there, none of the clubs would have done anything that they've done out there over the years. We've had a great agreement in place for over 40 years. I'll give you two examples of the most recent improvements. The Trap Clubhouse, all of the money raised and the hundreds of volunteer hours to construct a great building. It's first class. To replace that building alone, $200,000. The new gate at the entrance cost $35,000, and that's with a lot of volunteer work, and, in the concrete and electrical. Both projects had the city of Hibbing building permits and inspections. The city has always been aware of everything we're doing out there. Each of the three clubs out there are growing and flourishing. Our only mission is to provide a safe space to enjoy our sports and support the community. 2 weeks ago, the Rifle and Pistol Club hosted range tool and many law enforcement agencies throughout the Northland. Range tool, and we were on Channel 10 News.
Dan, can I interrupt you for a minute? Your time is up, but I want you to continue.
Okay.
So just continue. I want to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Range tool makes firearms for law enforcement, and this is my last page.
Keep going.
We've had a contract with the city of Hibbing for 40 years that has worked for everyone. We are here today to ask the council for a fair, reasonable contract that works for the mid-range and the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. I appreciate your passion and your comments. As you know, the council cannot act on anything. This is open forum. It's for a listening session for us to hear what you have to say. The one point of interest that you mentioned was the land transfer, and I know when I spoke with you, you had mentioned there you might have had paperwork regarding that. Do
Yes.
you have paperwork regarding that?
Yes, we are going through 45 years worth of paperwork, and yes, we do have paperwork.
Okay, and again, we can't, counselors, anybody have a question?
I just
Yes.
want to make one statement. Just so everybody's clear that you guys aren't being asked to leave. This is not for you, obviously you know that, but for the public, whoever's watching it. Because they might have just heard in 180 days you have to be out of there, you know, like, just so
Yeah.
everybody understands that we're working on a contract where both sides agree on. There's no intention of having you guys move. We want you to be there. So I just want to make sure that's clear for everybody as we
Yeah.
go forward on this.
Thank you for that clarification. You know, we've asked, you know, different scenarios, you know, why would we be asked to leave that place? And, you know, we've never, you know, never get an answer. You know, and this contract, you know, is very different from the other contracts about the buildings and equipment and structures. You know, is the mid-range nervous? Absolutely. That's why we are here. You know, we would like, you know, another contract just to keep doing what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're not looking to, you know,
Dan, as I mentioned when we spoke on the phone, and I appreciate the call, this is our 19th contract renewal. And that was a directive of about 3.5 years ago for Mr. Rolla to address all user groups for the city of Hibbing, so we have consistency and updated contracts. And, you know, you are the 19th of 19 that we're trying to come to a conclusion on. And we are in negotiations. I think you're negotiating contract with Mr. Rolla. I think we've talked about it once at the council meeting. As I mentioned to you, I had assumed it was completed till you
Yes.
gave me a call. So it kind of caught me off guard. But just to reiterate what Councilor Schweiberger said, we're not trying to take your buildings. We're not trying to take the land. We know the good stewards you have been for many organizations. I've used it myself personally, as I mentioned to you. But we do need to update our contracts from any legal point of view, so that we have as up-to-date contracts with every group within the city of Hibbing. And I know Mr. Rolla has been working with Mr. Borland, our city attorney, and updating these contracts. So it's not one group being picked on, you are actually the
No.
19th group that we have been working with, so.
no. In negotiations, I mean, have been professional, and, you know, no, our complaint is not with a person or anything. You know, we would like to have things, different things that we've brought forward just have been no. You know, we would like auto renew. You know, there's, you know, we have a little tiny list of, you know, what we'd like to see in there, and you know, negotiate.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we hear the list, so we know what the holdups are exactly?
And yes, sir, we've had a contract with the city of Hibbing for 40 years. Okay, I'm on the wrong page. We would want the initial term of the contract to be a 10-year agreement with automatic renewal periods of 10 years. We would like a 60-day termination with cause and time to correct the infraction. Right now, we have a 60-day agreement. The city of Hibbing can kick us off in 60 days with no cause. We can leave, and on the other hand, we can leave in 60 days with no reason. You know, the without cause language leaves us with a 60-day contract, and you know that I don't think the city's intent is to shoehorn us into a 60-day contract. You know, with written notification, poof, we're gone. You know, not fair to the city, for us to up and leave, not fair to the mid-range either.
Okay. Counselors, anything else? Anybody want to ask questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
Dan, are you gonna get those papers to us that you said you were finding?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Definitely will. And I guess I would like any papers that the city of Hibbing has also. That would be helpful.
Very good. Any other questions? No other questions? Dan, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming forward.
It's an honor.
Told you it was painless to come out there.
I'm a broken down lineman and Marine. This is not my forte, but
Thank you for your time tonight, and everybody in the
Thank you.
audience. I appreciate it.
thank you very
Yep.
much.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to department and committee reports. First up, we have building official, Mr. Green. Thank you.
Is there any reason for me to stick around?
Nope, you're free to go. Yep,
Thank you guys, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
you bet.
Mayor and council, the first item is plat exemption from St. Michael's Church Board
Yep,
to divide their one large lot into two parcels. The reason would be, so the church board would have their own parcel where the community hall is now. So then they would be building a new community hall, but they need to own that parcel separate from the St. Michael's Diocese Church.
okay.
So, it met all the minimum requirements, frontage and access and utilities, and planning commission recommended approval.
Very good. Hearing what Mr. Green had to say regarding plat exemption request of St. Michael's Orthodox Church, wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Fossil,
Support.
support by Councilor Whitney. Pat, I just need to understand, they had the original church, which was their hall, then they built the new church, which is of course pretty old right now, the round one.
Correct.
So-
Well, I'm only familiar with the round one and the community hall that's to the north of that.
Right, that was their church before they
Okay.
built the, so where is this new building going? Or are they tearing something down?
They would tear down the community hall, no,
The
that's
old community
existing
hall,
there.
where we do
Correct,
our voting,
correct.
and replace it with something new.
With a new actual community hall center. I mean, it could be rented from, the community for
Okay.
different events,
Very good.
not just a church.
All right, yeah, that's what I just wanted, I didn't know, I figured they had to be taking something down, and that's
Right.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
And that would be on the next item anyway.
Okay,
that-
very good.
The condition.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. B, Pat.
So B, Mayor and Council, is a conditional use to build a community center, community hall in the residential district, which requires a conditional use. And that's what, in the R2 district. So then the new building would be on its own parcel. The St. Michael's Church
Okay.
Board would own that.
All right,
And that met the criteria. Planning Commission recommended approval for that conditional use.
okay. So what we're looking for is a motion for conditional use permit for St. Michael's Church. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Councilor Fossil,
Support.
support by Councilor Bayless. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
This time we move on to City Attorney, Mr. Borland.
Mayor, members of the council, this is mostly for information this evening with regard to item 2A. But within your packet, there is a letter addressed from the Hibbing Public Utilities Commission to the council, as well as a resolution with respect to an attempt by the commission to ask the council to adopt a procedure for granting a transmission line that the utility would like to run from what they call the Keewatin substation to a new substation that would be built close to the water treatment plant. Right now, when the utility first talked to Mr. Green with respect to this, It was believed that you may not need any kind of permission from the city at all based on our ordinance. However, the concern for that, for the city in the long run, the utility sees is if there's no process involved at all, other utilities, including like Minnesota Power, Great River Energy, could also run lines without getting any kind of a format or procedure through the city.
All right.
So the process is set forth in this letter that the utility sent to you this evening. The plan going forward from this is just to give you information. This same presentation will be given to the Planning Commission next week at their meeting. It's on their agenda, their packet. If they give the go-ahead, it would come before you on the 16th of July for your approval of the process itself, that the city has jurisdiction, and this is the procedure that the public utilities plus any other utility forward should use. It would then be referred back to the Planning Commission to do an environmental review and get a conditional use permit for the purposes of building that line. So it's here for your information only this evening.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Prasinsky, is there anything you would want to add to this? I know you've been part of the discussion, or maybe not deeply, but is there anything from staff other than what Andy just said?
No, I think that was a pretty good, Mayor, City Council, I think that was a really good summary. We've got a couple of things that we want to review, one of which is with Planning Commission, and then it'll make a stop
Okay.
here again at City Council level. It's a relatively new space, I think, for the city. I think that's something that we should point out. We haven't done it before, is my point. But we're trying to work through some of those details, so by the 16th, when we have action in front of the City Council, we should have all that nailed down.
Okay, very good, thank you. All right, so just an update for us then, Andy.
Just information, yes.
Very good, so we'll move on to B.
Mayor, members of the council, the city had previously agreed to convey a piece of real property by a purchase agreement to the HRA. Ms. Prescott reached out to me, I think yesterday, in fact, with regard to this, because some of the language in the purchase agreement didn't clearly define that the conveyance was for the value of the property at the present time as compared to after construction is done. She noted that would hinder them. They wouldn't get as many points based on the way the purchase agreement is. They suggested 5 words are all that are different from this purchase agreement than the previous one. So it's just to clarify that the value that the city is conveying to the HRA is for the value of the property at this time.
Existing.
Yeah, correct. So we just needed a motion to approve the amended purchase agreement. I think Ms. Prescott is here if you had any questions of her with respect to it.
Okay, at that time, first we'll ask, we're looking for a motion to revise purchase agreement between the city of Hibbing and the HRA. Wish of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Schweberger.
Support.
Support by Councilor Bayless. Anybody have any questions? With no questions, Ms. Prescott, you should be good just sitting back there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Mayor.
All right, we'll move on to Mr. Prasinsky.
Mayor, City Council, a few items from my office this evening. First item, Hibbing Public Safety Center. I had a placeholder on the agenda this evening, hoping that we could bring everything together. Remember, we have a construction manager at risk, Adolphson and Peterson. We weren't able to quite bring everything together. We wanted Andy to take a look at a couple of the items. So our plan is to have City Council consider and take action on the agreement with Adolphson and Peterson on the 16th. We did receive bids. We're in a pretty good spot. We think that we are going to be able to bring that project in on budget. Again, we have a couple of details that we want to be able to nail down. So that's a report to the City Council. Item number 2 from my office, we're working on our legislative priorities for 2026. Specifically, we're working on what our bonding bill ask is going to be. We have 2 items that we're considering, and we want to be able to be in front of the city council on the 16th with these 2 items. So one item from our Public Works Department, our sewer relining. Remember, we've got a relining project that's been ongoing for a number of years. We would like to be able to expedite that. We think there's a lot of value in asking our legislature, specifically our bonding bill ask, to help fund that and expedite that project. Item number 2, remember we did an analysis of our memorial building several years ago. We want to be able to go to the legislature and ask, again, these would be bonding bill asks, to help us expedite refurbishment of the memorial building. So those are the 2 items. We'll have a staff briefing for the 16th of July, but was looking for some feedback. It's a little bit of a FYI, but also looking for some feedback if there is any.
Okay, hearing what Ms. Krasinski, councilors. I had one question, Greg. We had, in this year's bonding ask, we had the Clear Lake campground. Are we gonna put the memorial building and sewer lining in front because it didn't go through this year? We didn't get any funding. It was our top priority. So are we changing, where are we at with that project?
The short answer, Mr. Mayor, City Council, the short answer to that is yes. We are going to reprioritize our Clear Lake campground project in the context of the bonding bill ask. Not to say that we don't want to move it forward, because we do, but we also want to be able to tap into some other funds that we think are going to be available for that type of a project.
Okay.
And I want to give you a second little piece when it comes to our rationale. We think, and we're hearing from our legislators, that the 2026 session is going to be focused on infrastructure,
Right.
core infrastructure. So what we want to be able to do is take those signals from our legislators and say, all right, what do we have here locally that would fit into that category, those categories? We think those 2 projects will do that very thing. And the last thing I'll say on that same topic is oftentimes campgrounds are kind of at the bottom of the heap. So we think it's a better strategy to ask for those core service requirements during the legislative session in 2026.
So, basically summing up so people understand, that is what they have been funding. Everything they funded this year was basically related to state infrastructure. And what I hear you saying is they're looking at community infrastructure as being a top priority, sewer, water, buildings. And that's why you're directing our ask to that, so that we're in a better position to receive funding.
Correct.
Than we did, so,
That is correct.
yes.
I just had one question, Mayor, about the sewer lining and the asking for the funds for that. How large of impact are we looking at to ask to make that happen? So, I mean, where did we start? Where are we now with our lining project? And how big of an ask are we gonna look to complete it, so?
Jesse, I'm going to pitch that one to you. Just a status update on where we're at and then the ask.
Mayor, Council, so currently where we're at through this year, when we complete the project, we have lined roughly 24 miles of sanitary sewer. We're not quite halfway to completing the system. So the remainder of that, if you remember, we did a capital plan with a consultant, and the remainder of the system was right around $22 million, I believe. So that, I think the ask, I don't remember the exact number, what we're looking for.
12 million, I think, is
12
what our
million
ask
for
is.
that. So that would be, when we did the capital plan, that was all external work with consultants. This would be an in-house project. I think we can tackle this in-house to save some funds. So that would be the ask for that. And that would be for, to try to do the remainder of our system that needs to be done.
Jesse, question for you. How many years, you said we've done 24 miles, and I know we've been pretty consistent hitting this for quite a few years now. When did we start getting serious about relining?
Our first lining project, I believe, was in 2013.
Okay,
So this will be our 12th year.
very good. Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes.
just add one thing? So, again, by expediting this, two things. The first thing, it should reduce our operating expenses at our wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
So that's number one. And number two, related to that point, we're trying to keep fresh water out of our system so we don't have to treat it at the just before discharge. And remember, that's a mandate to keep that fresh water out of the system. So that's why we think this is very valuable, not just when it comes to the session, but for our local residents operating in capital.
Thank you. Any other comments?
One thing,
Yes, Counselor Whitney.
Greg, when you brought up the memorial building, what specifically is the ask to refurbish it?
Dollar-wise,
Or what exactly?
Is it rough?
New
sir?
roof, no?
yep, I think it starts with the roof, and is it 3.5?
Mayor, Council, yeah, roofing is number one. Then we have the life safety items, the fire detection, alerting, that stuff. Then the HVAC, dehumidification, things like that. Roughly 10 million, something like that.
So necessities, not like add-ons? or
No,
of
no, this is,
Necessities.
correct, yep.
Gotcha, thank you.
And I just want to add, I mean, your staff has done a fantastic job of keeping the building in great shape. So it's worth investing in on the things you just mentioned. So thank you. Mr. Przezinski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. One last item from my office. I would like to talk a little bit about the animal intake. And I'm going to ask our fire chief to come forward just to kind of set the stage, and then we can answer questions and then get some direction from the City Council.
Excuse me, Mayor and Council, since we have embarked upon what we're doing with the current animal situation in Hibbing, there's been a committee formed by Mr. Przezinski of Candy, myself, Nick, Alyssa, who's hired to do code enforcement, but she's got experience doing this kind of thing in her previous life. And we are at a cross point. And being an animal intake and the volume of animal intakes that we're taking are far exceeding the capacity for us to do animal exporting. And we're looking for a couple of different options. One, the first option that we are doing, and you will see it very soon, is that we're working on some ordinance changes, which would change how animals are intaked to the facility from our city. That we do believe that will reduce a certain amount of the intakes of the animals that we have going on. The second thing that we're relying on is we're relying on some of the regional shelters and regional precious paws and places like this to take our animals and help us distribute those animals to homes. The crossroads that we're having is that at this juncture in time, the intake is far growing, and the exporting is not. Everybody else is full. There's a lot of different variations of why these animals are coming to us. And we need to do something internally while we are going through an RFP process to get somebody to hopefully take over the services for us. And one of the things that we are looking at, or we're I guess actually seeking some input on, and we had met just this afternoon on this, is that working on a pathway to help facilitate placing animals into homes internally. So we're relying right now on external sources to do that versus Precious Paws and many different things. Alyssa's doing a fantastic job of trying to get rescues and things pretty much all over the state of Minnesota to take some of our animals. And right now we're at absolute max capacity, and we're seeking some input as to basically, can we start putting something out there where we can do something to recoup our costs? We can get these animals into homes that are proper places for these places to be. And in conjunction with us reducing the animals that we have in capacity and the ordinances that we'll be presenting to you very soon, we think that number should drop. And hopefully the RFP process will come through and we will have somebody that's going to be handling this into the future. But in the interim, we really need to do something. And I think Alyssa said that today we had found a place for 6 cats and a dog. So we were at 47 this morning and we're down to 40. But we can't rely on just other rescuing us. And so we're looking at a pathway to do that. And one of the things that we would like to do, at least in the interim, is the animals that we have, look at ways that we can adopt them out and or stuff internally. And because they're all healthy, they're vetted, we're doing the right things for them. It's just our capacity is full, and for a lot of reasons, the number is just catastrophically climbing that we're taking animals in. And so we need some input from the council as we are in this crossover period during waiting for the RFPs, hopefully to come in and be suitable and those types of things. Did I summarize that?
Chief, question, what's the percentage of cats versus dogs?
I'm going to defer that to Alyssa.
Currently we have 30 cats and 16 dogs in the building.
Okay. What percentage currently, what percentage of animals that you're managing are cats versus dogs?
75 to 25%.
Okay, because I know Grand Rapids doesn't deal with cats all that much.
Yeah.
They do not,
Yep.
unless, I don't know what their priority is, but they do not deal with cats within their facility.
Yeah, and so I spoke with Carl back when we were
Yep.
taking it over, and he had just explained that the officers himself and whoever else picks up animals, they do not pick up cats unless
Right.
they are extremely friendly and they won't leave that person alone. That's the only way they end up in the building. If it's just wandering the street, they just kind of let it stay there from
So
my
what is our
assumption.
process here?
So our process is that the officers or the animal control get a complaint that a cat is on somebody's property and it's not leaving, it's not going anywhere, and they usually go and pick it up. Or we've had just 2 adult cats and 6 kittens that were basically dumped on Maple Hill on Lundquist Road. Someone had found them, called, and I think one of the animal control officers picked it up and brought them there. So there's various reasons as to why they're coming in, but most of it is complaint-based from the police department.
Okay.
One of the things that we are working on internally with Alyssa's previous career is what they do in Minneapolis. She's worked with what they do in Grand Rapids and coming up with ordinances for our city that fit the model and are not antiquated and are good for the city in and of itself, and hopefully in the end of the day good for the animals and the animal intake.
Mayor?
So I think we're looking for some questions and some guidance.
Yes, sir. Counselor.
I think first thing first, I think finding safe homes for these animals should be our #1 goal. So if we can get them adopted out to safe homes, that is exactly what we should be doing. Especially with the amount of animals that we're seeing at our intake and then regionally as well. So I think anything that we can do to create and make that happen is the direction we should be going. And then I know when we talked to Grand Rapids, I guess the second point, they see a lot less animals at their intake than we do, and they cover just as big a space. I think they cover the whole county.
The whole county of Itasca.
So I don't know if there's anything that we can also do on top of that around awareness. Is the amount of cats that are coming in seem to be really large, so some sort of a campaign on cat management awareness, I don't know, right? So I know that's not necessarily your deal, but.
Yep, no, and I think what being having really no history with anything like this, my understanding is Grand Rapids really has their stuff together and they have a good ordinance and they've had a good system over there. So we're trying to plagiarize and model off of something along those lines, and so we're really close to getting it done and having it before you. In the interim, we hope this RFP thing is successful so we can do the right thing for the citizens and the animals. but we're at a crossing point that we need to do something now while this is occurring. So our goal is to get these ordinances to you, get them to Andy to look at, and that official process as quickly as we can, and we're super close. And we just need some guidance and some questions, and just to make sure you're okay with our thought processes during this time that we're hoping to be a successful RFP and things of that nature.
Mayor?
Yes, Counselor Whitney.
I see her back there, Carrie from Precious Paws. If I had discussions with her today, she says she's very knowledgeable, runs a great shelter, and if we can utilize her, if we're willing to utilize her, I would take her, whatever she's willing to offer, any advice, help. I know she's helped Alyssa a lot, and they've been doing great. And if adoption seems like it's feasible and we can do that, then if we have the help, if we need more help, I would suggest doing that to lessen the load out there to find these animals some good homes and stuff. So I would definitely utilize Miss Carrie back there. She's been a wealth of knowledge, and I've worked with her for a long time. So please use her if she's willing. Pay her too.
Any other comments? So you'll have something coming for the council
Possibly, Alyssa, next
on the
council
16th?
meeting? 16th? Can we have something to the council by the 16th? Or to the process?
Yeah.
So we're really close.
Very good, thank you for the update. Yes, Mr. Kucinski. Or,
Did you have some?
question?
I was just gonna make sure that we gave you what you're looking for before you walk away.
I think so.
Okay.
Yep, I was actually just going to give a quick little summary.
Okay.
I think we have 5 things, but so we are going to become more proactive on the adoption side of it, an ordinance update pending. We've got some operational procedures that we are going to refine. We're going to start collecting RFPs here soon. I think that's due the 17th of July. And there was one other item I was trying to capture there.
Does, if I may, I know Alyssa has a lot on her plate with animals in blight and all that. Does she have enough help to do these adoptions out there? She's shaking her head no. Carrie, you want a job?
So, additional staffing if needed. Okay,
All right,
that's what we'll do.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to bids and quotes. First off is Mr. Story, city engineer.
Mayor, Council, if you recall, a year ago when we did the budget for 2025, we decided to budget for half of the columbarium for the cemetery and the other half in 2026, and we'd buy one every 2 years. When we got that quote a year ago to purchase a columbarium in 2026, it was $37,152. That has since gone up to $39,523. So for this year, we're $1,185 short. We can pull that from our operating budget from the cemetery to cover this cost, and then that additional cost we'll budget for in 2026. When we order this, they do require a down payment of half. So we'll make that down payment, and then in the spring of 26, we'll bring forward to the council the other payment, and then we can get that columbarium ordered.
Very good. Hear what Mr. Story had to say regarding the columbarium. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Councilor Fossil,
Support.
support by Councilor Whitney. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Move on to Ms. Mulner.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Our current 3-year engagement with ABDO is ending after the completion of the 2024 audit and our state reporting. We have been satisfied with the service ABDO has delivered for us. I would like to move forward with using ABDO for another 3-year engagement. The pricing would be a maximum of $51,900 for 2025's audit, a maximum of $54,175 for 2026's audit, and a maximum of $56,950 for 2027's audit, for a total not to exceed amount of $162,525 over 3 years. We would incur the single audit expense only if we receive $750,000 or more in federal awards in a year. The price increase per year is approximately 5% year over year. I'm asking for council to approve this engagement.
Okay, Finance Director Treasurer, Ms. Mullner is looking for a 3-year proposal from Abdu approval. Wishes of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Councilor Schweberger.
Support.
Support by Councilor Bayless. Any discussion? Sheena, I just want to say they have done a fantastic job in the 3 years that they've been working with us, and tonight was no different. Very professional, easy to follow, and it seems like they've been great to work with you.
They have.
So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We move right now on to Chief Police. Mr. Essie's not here. Or did... Oh, Officer Ronchetti, I'm sorry.
So I'm hiding behind the podium.
You were hiding back there.
So Mayor and council members, before you tonight is a request for approving using surplus funds to pay for the year invoice for body cams and squad cameras from Axon in the amount of $43,367.98. This purchase was pre-approved by the council on December 4th meeting of 2024.
Very good. So we're looking for approval, surplus funds to pay for body squad cameras from Axon. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Whitney. Support. Support by Councilor Hildebrand. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Ronchetti. We move on to Fire Chief, Mr. Jankala.
Evening, Mayor and Council. The first item before you is an approval for a contract billing service for our ambulance. At the last council meeting, you approved us giving written notification within our 90-day window for termination of our previous ambulance billing provider. We have done that. We have gone through the transition, starting the transition process. And as I said at the last council meeting, we will have a new contract agreement for you. This is with ECP Billing Services out of Lake Mills, Wisconsin. We have met with them on a number of occasions. We have had the contract vetted by Mr. Borland. He made some suggestions. They were made. Ms. Mullner in the finance department has looked at this contract and made some suggestions. They were made. They have met the satisfaction of the city and the fire department as what we need out of them for our billing services. And we're recommending approval. We're recommending that you approve this contract with ECP Billing Services. The financial piece of it is our current vendor charges us $15 flat rate and 2%. This billing vendor is 3.75% of income generated. If you do the math on what our current stuff is versus what this would be, it's about a net zero cost increase for us. So we're not thinking that it's going to be, any more money than we're paying currently now. The nice thing that I think about this is that it is a percentage base. The more they do for us, the more they get. It doesn't have any flat rate fees associated with it. So we're asking for you to allow us to enter an agreement with ECP Billing Services for ambulance. And I think the takeover date would be September 1st or October 1st. We have some leeway there.
Okay, hearing what Chief Jankla had to say regarding approving professional services between ECP Services and the City of Hibbing. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Bayless.
Support.
Support by Councilor Schweberger. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. B.
The next item for you is to accept a quote for professional services from Paramount Planning. Paramount Planning is a company out of Carlton, Minnesota that does, they basically work with emergency management, and they work with Region 5 predominantly, which is our northeastern Minnesota. Our city emergency operations plan at the latest rendition is close to 24 years old. Most of the stuff in there is not valid. Most of the players that are contacts are far along not within the city any longer. It doesn't meet current FEMA standard. It doesn't blend with anybody anymore. This is the next phase of emergency management. The first one was when we redid the sirens, which they worked really well twice within a 10-day period for us, automated for weather events. And this would take working with Paramount Planning and the City of Hibbing to basically reinvent our emergency operations plan. Nothing in there is current and nothing is there is valid. And by using an outside vendor, we will be working with that vendor extensively, but they have the experience to blend it with the county emergency operations plan, the state emergency operations plan. And as we have had some events in our past where we've seen some federal funding and FEMA funding, this will make this whole process a whole lot easier when this is all said and done. And the cost of that for total of Penn Logistics, development, creation, rollout, working with us is a cost to not exceed $9,000. There is a little star by there. There is some things that we potentially can do internally once we meet with them that could save a little bit of money, but we're looking to say not to exceed $9,000.
Okay, what was the company name again?
Paramount Planning.
Paramount Planning?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, hearing what Mr. Jankla had to say regarding a new emergency plan update for Paramount Planning, not to exceed $9,000. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Councilor Fossil,
Support.
support by Councilor Whitney. Any other questions for Chief? Yes, Councilor Fossil.
I just wanted to, I guess, first recognize that it was great to get the reassurance of those sirens the last couple weeks, hearing them outside. But I also think that we have a good opportunity to, as part of this emergency operation plan, to create more awareness, communication to our public, just on what to expect with the sirens. They're outdoor sirens, so if you're outdoors, they're telling you to get inside and check the weather. So not to expect that they're gonna be in your house hearing them necessarily, or that there's gonna be another siren that gives the all clear, or they'll keep going to the all clear. So whatever the steps are in that, some sort of communication so the public can understand exactly what to expect with each step. And I don't think we can over-communicate that, I guess is my,
I agree with you, Councilor Faso. After our discussion last week, we did have a number of phone calls regarding the sirens, and I know there was not just our department received some phone calls. They are designed to be a outdoor warning siren. It is in conjunction with the Everbridge system that sets off the alarms automatically to give us I believe the number is in about a 90 percentile reach of the people, which is an extremely high likelihood. I have spoken to Kelly Grinsteiner about this after we chatted the other day. And starting next week, we're gonna, actually I think we meet early next week to start a rollout. We're gonna do something on our Facebook pages. We're gonna do something on all the different city social media sites. And we'll educate, we'll do a little bit better job of educating on the system. We're super happy that it worked, and it worked exactly the way it's supposed to, automated. We did receive a number of calls that say, why are they going off? And we politely explained to them because it's a weather event. And they did everything they're supposed to do in conjunction with Everbridge, but we'll get that, we'll do a better marketing play with that, and we've already started that process.
thank you.
Chief, also some notes so people understand the first Wednesday.
First Wednesday of the
Of
month,
every
and
month,
we have opted to do them year-round.
Okay.
There is no reason that you can't, a lot of communities turn their sirens off in the winter.
Yeah.
Our sirens, it is better for them to run year-round. It is a good indicator, not that you have necessarily a civil defense tornado event in the middle of winter, but we do expect those sirens to go off first Wednesday of the month, 1 p.m. year-round.
Thank you. I appreciate you addressing the communication aspect to our residents. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we have a first, second, and we have that passed, right?
I don't think we voted.
No, we didn't vote. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. That was a long discussion, so. Yeah. All right, this time we move on to Mr. McKinney, Fleet Manager. Joe, it's all
Good
yours.
evening, Mayor, Council. Looking to approve purchase of a new pickup truck for the engineering department using surplus funds from selling our older equipment and vehicles. So looking for approval for a 2025 F-150 from Ford of Hibbing, which was low bid for $45,433 plus tax, title, and license.
Okay, hearing what Mr. McKinney had to say regarding approving a purchase for a new F-150 for the engineering department. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Councilor Faso.
Support.
Support by Councilor Bayless. The old truck.
We will
Cover
repurpose
that,
the 2013 to the Public Works Department and then surplus a 2005.
Okay, so we'll just move down into the fleet?
Yep.
Yep, thank you. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. B,
B is to approve the purchase of a highways surveyor pack to Chrysler truck. This would be using the same surplus funds. This is a state bid pricing for $11,770. This is the unit that will go in the back of the truck for them.
Okay, surveying unit,
Yep.
okay, very good. Hearing what Mr. McKinney had to say regarding surveyor's package for our engineering truck. Wishes of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Counselor Schweberger,
Support.
support by Counselor Whitney. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Do you know what the time frame is on this truck?
Chassis are 3 to 4 months, and the surveyor pack is 4 to 5 months.
Okay, that compared to what it used to be?
It's a lot better.
Yeah, not 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
Very
it's
good.
getting better.
All right, this time, number 6, we'll move on to Mr. Arola, City Service Director.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Looking for your approval to move forward to award bids to our Carey Lake Campground for a reduced scope project. So as you remember, we did not move forward with full construction of the full campground, but we do have some grant money that we need to use up this calendar year. So we're looking at, we worked with the apparent low bid shoreline landscaping and contracting to do a reduced scope to use up those funds, and we're looking at the entrance road going into the campground. So we tackle that first, along with the parking lot that would be there. It would be also be the start of the new trailhead for all the trails in there, so we can use it this winter. And it has some retention ponds or retention water areas that they would do as well. They would do a fence around the new septic that was just installed to protect that from the public, and then also some trails, reconnecting all the trails that kind of got jumbled up in the clearing and then grubbing, so connecting those, and then a trail down to the beach from the campground. So that's kind of what we're looking at tackling right away. So looking for your approval for $288,740, and that would be 2 IRRR grants that we still have remaining, a development infrastructure grant and a regional trails grant to cover those
Very good.
costs. And they can get going here right away, end of July, beginning of August, and be out of there by, I think we put October 15th, somewhere around there. So.
Very good. Hearing what Mr. Roll had to say regarding moving forward with a phased 2 improvements to from shoreline landscaping and contracting. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Fossil.
Support.
Support by Councilor Bayless. Nick, so is well in right now too?
The well is in. The well they just finished up.
Okay.
We did not put in the electrical components
Right.
and stuff for it. We held them off because we're not going to be out there when we didn't want to risk losing them.
Yeah.
So we have those in. The well is in as well. They had to go down a little deeper than they thought.
Okay.
We were scheduled to go down 100 feet and ended up going close to 200 to get the amount of water that we needed.
Okay.
So, yep, that is done as well.
Very good. Let the PUC know about that well, just in case they need to tap into it. So. Anyways, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So,
The second one is another Carey Lake recreation area project. This would be for paving the road in Carey Lake Park. Right when you get to the Y at the park, this would be going both directions. It would get the parking lot and everything at the beach, and then all the way down to the north, to the end of the cul-de-sac there, and turn around, be a repaving of that entire road. And that was a scheduled project that we had on for this year's budget, capital budget. So looking to award that to, sorry, got the wrong one.
SBS?
Yes, SBS for $171,300, and that would come out of the Parks Capital Fund. Again, that was a budgeted amount. We had $225 budgeted for that one.
Okay.
So.
Hearing what Mr. Roll had to say regarding updating the road in both directions, starting from where we ended the main entrance road a few years ago. So does this go, it goes all the way to the north and up to the new campground? Or is that part of, is that being blacktop too, up to the new campground?
We have it to the parking lot right now is what we looked at, and yeah, possibly all the way to the campground. We got some money, some savings. I was gonna talk to Jesse about that one here after, but yeah, for sure, up to the end of the parking lot.
On the beach.
Yep.
Very good. All right. All in favor? We have motion, please.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Support.
Fossil for Mr. Bayless. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I just had a question.
Yes.
Are we thinking of potentially paving it to the parking area up at the campground?
Yes, eventually, yes.
Okay, so that, I'm just curious if they're in there with all their equipment, it might be,
Yep.
especially if we had 225s, we got close to $53,000 extra. I just say, something to look at.
Yep, nope, I'm gonna talk to
Definitely.
Jesse about that after. I wanted to confirm with Bar Engineering on what is actually in the scope of this next one, and further on, just to make sure because I couldn't remember if we're widening that road even more, so I wanna be
that
sure
makes
before
sense.
we pave it and then have to go back through and widen it again, so I wanted to confirm those plans.
Is the existing road a mill and overlay?
Mayor, council, so went and looked at it a couple times, went with a couple contractors out there. So there's areas we're gonna do a 1-inch leveling course.
Okay.
We couldn't get a milling machine in there because there's only 2.5 inches of blacktop.
Yeah, it just was never
and there's
heavy.
nothing underneath
Yeah.
it. So we'll do an inch leveling course and then an 1.5-inch wear course on top of that. If you drive out there, you can see there's about half of it where the road is really bad condition.
Yeah.
We're gonna cover it with about 8 inches of bituminous millings,
okay.
compact it down for a good base, and then we'll pave right over the top of
Okay,
that.
that was my concern, is there are some areas that were like that, so that's being addressed.
Yes.
Very good. All right.
One question on that
Yes.
too. Are there any culverts out there that need to be replaced, or are those all good?
Counselor Fossil, there's one, we replaced one 2 years ago, and there's one more just before the cul-de-sac that we'll replace that before we pave it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you.
Support.
We have a motion by Councilor Bayless, support by Councilor Schweberger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion, do you have one thing?
I have one thing to add. We do have our fireworks next Friday night at dusk.
Okay.
They'd be on the dumps behind the rail, or the racetrack. If there's a rain delay, it would be on Saturday night, so same time.
Very good.
Just
So
wanted to
next
make sure the
Friday
public knows.
or next Saturday with the rain delay?
Correct.
Okay, and then I just want to, again, congratulate the Hibbing Trap Team for their state championship. So with that, we have adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.